ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवी
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो
ततो जयमिदमुह्यति।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्ट
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भगवती
भगवति
उत्तम
लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी।
भक्ति
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
So, reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, title Conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha
या धर्मं च कार्यं कार्यमेव
karyam cha
कार्यमेव च
एव च
एव च
yayathavat prajanati
य यथावत् प्रजानाति
buddhi sa partharajasi.
बुद्धि
बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी।
Yaya dharman adharmam cha
यया धर्मम् अधर्मं च
karyam cha
कार्यम् अकार्यं च एव च
yathavat prajanati
यथा
यथा
जानाति
प्रजानाति
बुद्धि सा पार्थराजसी.
बुद्धि
बुद्धि सा
बुद्धि
पार्थ
सा
राजसी।
राजसी।
Anyone would like to lead?
अया धर्मम् अधर्मं च
यया धर्मम् अधर्मं च
कार्यं च अकार्यम् एव च
कार्य
कार्यं च अकार्यम् एव च
अयथावत् प्रजानाति
यथा
यथावत् प्रजानाति
बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी।
बुद्धि
बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी।
यया धर्मम अधर्मम च
या
यया
धर्मम्
धर्मम्
अधर्मं च
अधर्मं च
कार्यं च अकार्यं एव च
कार्यं च
कार्यं च
कार्यम्
कार्यम्
एव च
एव च
अयथावत् प्रजानाति
यथावत्
यथावत्
प्रजानाति
प्रजानाति
बुद्धि सा पार्थराजसी
बुद्धि सा
बुद्धि सा
पार्थ
पार्थ
राजसी।
राजसी। यया धर्मम् अधर्मं च
या धर्मम् अधर्मं च
कार्य च अकार्यम् एव च
कार्यं
कार्यं च कार्यम् एव च
अयथावत् प्रजानाति
अयथावत् प्रजानाति
बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी।
बुद्धि
बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी।
यया धर्मम् अधर्मं च
या
यया
धर्मम्
धर्मम्
अधर्मं च
अधर्मं च
कार्यं चाकार्यम् एव च
कार्यं
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 च
च
कार्यम्
अकार्यम्
एव
एव
च
च
यथावत् प्रजानाति
अयथावत्
यथावत्
प्रजानाति
प्रजानाति
बुद्धिः सा पार्थ राजसी।
बुद्धि
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 सा
सा
पार्थ
पार्थ
राजसी।
राजसी।
Thank you very much. Word by word meaning. Yaya, by which.
या
यया
by
by
which
which
Dharmam, the principles of religion.
धर्मम
dharmam the
the
principles of religion.
Adharmam, irreligion.
Adharma
irreligion.
irreligion.
Cha, and.
Cha and
Karyam,
karyam
what ought to be done.
what ought to be done.
Cha, also.
Cha also
Akaryam,
akaryam
अकार्यम्
what ought not to be done.
What
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 ought
ought
not
not
to be
to be
done.
done.
Eva, certainly.
Eva, certainly.
Cha, also.
Cha,
Cha, also.
Yathavat, imperfectly.
Yathavat,
Yathavat,
imperfectly.
Prajanati, knows.
Prajanati knows.
knows.
Buddhi, intelligence.
Buddhi,
Buddhi,
intelligence.
intelligence.
Sa, that.
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 Partha, O son of Pritha.
Partha,
son of
son
O
of
son
Pritha.
of Pritha.
Rajasi, in the mode of passion.
Raj
Raj
in the
mode of
mode of passion.
passion.
Translation by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Prabhupada ki jai. O son of Pritha,
O son of Pritha.
that understanding
That understanding
which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion,
which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion,
between action that should be done
between action that should be done
and action that should not be done,
and action that should not be done,
is in the mode of passion.
is in the mode of passion.
There is no purport by Srila Prabhupada, so we go directly to our prayers. Let's all chant together. Ajnana timirandasya jnana janashalakaya
Chakshurmitam mena tasmai Sri Gurave Namah
Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam
Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa
Swayambhupadayam
Padadeyam Chadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru
Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha
Vancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagranatham Savitam Avadutam Savadutam Varijan Saitam Chaitanya Devam Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganalita Sri Radha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bandhu Jagatpate Gopishya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Rangi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Vancha
Kripa Sindhu
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namo Jai Shri Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare Hare
Nilachal Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadrabhyang Jagannatha Yate Namo. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha every Friday evening where we take verse by verse and go and directly try to understand in a discussion forum how Krishna is perceiving understanding in the mode of passion. So as we went through various triplets in this chapter where Krishna is talking about karma and the doer of the karma, and now he is in the triplet where he is talking about understanding. What is the understanding? First he gave that I'm going to tell you, Arjuna, understanding in three modes. Then he talked about understanding in mode of goodness. This verse is 31, talks about understanding in the mode of passion. So what Krishna is saying, let's try to understand this. Yathavat. Yathavat means perfectly. And here Krishna is using in the third line, as you can see, ayathavat. That means imperfectly. So that's something we have to recognize. Just think about it. Yaya dharman adharmancha. So there is dharma means religiosity or principles of religion. And adharma is irreligiosity or principles which are not supported by religion. And based on this two, karyam, what ought to be done? Krishna is saying karyam, what ought to be done based on these two things, dharma, adharma. And then he says, yathavat. Yathavat means imperfectly. Then sometimes you might have heard about yathavat. Yathavat means perfectly. Ayathavat means imperfectly.
Imperfectly.
So imperfect understanding is a hallmark of somebody in the mode of passion. Because the person in the mode of passion hasn't understood the difference between work, which works in the principles of religion, and works against the principles of religion. So it's very simple verse, but Krishna is saying a lot of things here. And so there are two things. A person who is working in the mode of passion, he is working on the external abilities of religion. So we'll try to go deep into this verse. So I'll just stop sharing so that I save some bandwidth. So as you know, Krishna is beautifully explaining about this verse in a way which recognizes that in the general understanding, when Vibhishan left his brother Ravana, Ravana was a Rakshasa. Ravana was not working on the principles. Ravana was purely working against the principles of religion. When Ravana was running against the principles of religion, that is a higher principle. He was a Bhrata Drohi. That means he is against the principles of brotherly affection. But the higher principle is he walked towards religiosity. So anything we end up doing in our lives, there is a higher principle and there is a lower principle. A person in Krishna consciousness tries to understand what is favoring the principles of religion, and then he recognizes that should be adhered to. In Ramayana, there are one or two examples where when Lakshman cut the nose of Suparnaka, the people in Krishna, people who are has the understanding of religiosity, in the mode of passion would think that as Lakshman cut the nose of Suparnaka, Suparnaka went and spoke to Ravana, and that culminated in stealing somebody's wife. It was tit for tat. In this age, some people would think that is tit for tat, because Lakshman cut the nose, and as a sense of response, Ravana did the right thing by protecting her sister. That is so we have people who, as you can see, there is a nice episode serial on Ravana. Ravana is projected to be a Brahmana because Brahmana's mother Kaikesi had at that time, when we talk of genetics, right? Whenever you talk of mixing genes and procreating something, Ravana was the greatest genetics creator because Kaikesi was a demonic lady. He had her dad had an intention of procreating someone who is the most powerful, and he knows that the rishis, the saintly persons, have a lot of power. So he got his daughter entangled with the greatest rishi, and from there Ravana, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan came. So Ravana was so powerful that he came from a Brahminical father, and because of this so-called genetic procreation, which was there. Here nowadays, the medicine field is all about genetics. But actually, if you see, the greatest procreator done to harm the mankind was the creation of Ravana. And Ravana was formed as a Brahma Rakshasa because he was progeny of a Brahmana and a Rakshasa. And that's why he was totally passionate. He was totally sex-oriented in his life. And Mandodari had so much of sadness, but she never protested. So coming back to this concept of Suparnaka's nose being cut and Ravana giving a tit for tat, in many ways, people who do not have the real understanding, people who do not have a guru or a Shiksha guru or a Diksha guru, would say Ravana did the right thing. And after the Ravana serial, which came in the TV, there are a lot of people in the office get-togethers and Friday evening parties would side with Ravana, saying that he did the right thing. But actually, if you think about it, Krishna is saying karma akarma, dharma adharma. So Krishna is so beautifully explaining that anything which aligns with dharma, with a higher cause, and the person recognizing that is the mode of goodness. But if a person recognizes a lower principle, more like external ability, nowadays when you see kids, they're going after the school, there is a lot of drug issues with kids because kids recognizes through the acceptability charter that some things are recreational. So as a lower principle person has aligned marijuana to be recreational, they don't consider that to be hazard. But if you think about the effect, it's intoxication. That's the reason why our 4 principles in Vaishnavism is no intoxication. So no intoxication is a higher principle. Recreational marijuana is a lower principle. So if we make our kids understand the difference between the higher and lower principle based on dharma and adharma, there will be no intoxication in the streets of New York City or wherever. And that knowledge is not there. And because that knowledge is not there, people resort to adhering to lower principles, which leads to fights, which leads to family breakups, which leads to divorce, which leads to suicide. Because people do not have a strong higher principle. A person who has a strong higher principle would align with the cause that Vibhishan recognized that. Vibhishan was a person with mode of goodness. But in our society, nobody names their kid Vibhishan because they think that he really went against his brother. That's why nobody, but actually, if you think about it, in the true scriptural sense, he had the distinction of understanding what is right and wrong based on a higher principle. So this Krishna consciousness or Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us what is right and wrong based on a higher principle. Higher principles are adhered to, the outcome is always good. When a lower principle is adhered to, the outcome is not favorable. So whenever we think about doing the right thing, always think whether it is aligning with the scriptures. Scriptures talks about compassion. Anything you end up doing which is compassionate is favored by scriptures. So your theory or principle is scriptural, which is Vedic. And that's the reason why anything you end up doing based on scriptures, protecting somebody, giving charitable contributions, helping others. When you help others, The thought is not, I will get a higher name because I'm helping others. The thought is, that person is a part and parcel of the Supreme. And when that person is helped, Krishna is pleased. That should be the thought process, not to make some name from, trying to do a old age revival or trying to help the old age. The understanding should be, I'm helping the old age person, Krishna will be pleased, the Supreme will be pleased. When that understanding is broken, you end up doing Bata Memorial Hospital, Kata Memorial Hospital. There you have personal gains that leads to corruption. And that's the reason why nobody is telling you not to do charitable activities. But when that is not dovetailed with scriptures, that leads to ahankar, that leads to issues, selfishness, that leads to proudness, which is against the scriptures. So Krishna beautifully explaining this, yaya dharmam adharmancha, means dharma and adharma should be understood based on a mode. We are in different modes: mode of goodness, sattvic; mode of rajasic, passion; ignorance, tamasic. When a person is in the mode of rajasic, when a person is in the mode of passion, he thinks from a very external angle. He will consider Vibhishan as Bhrata Drohi. But Vibhishan did the right thing because his brother was going against the religious principle. That's why Krishna mentions Sarva Dharman Parityajya. That means abandon all religion and just surrender unto me, because religiosity should be understood not based on Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, but based on what is favorable to dharma or religiosity. So when Srila Prabhupada talks about dharma, he says dharma is not aligning ourselves to a certain sect or a faith. It basically makes us a better person because we're aligning with scriptural references which are thousands and millions of years ago. And that is the reason why Krishna consciousness is not sectarian. Krishna consciousness doesn't really say if you are a Hindu or a Muslim, you can or cannot join. It's a way of life which relies on some basic tenets of religiosity as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, spoken millions of years ago. So it's all about higher or lower principle which drives our understanding of a person with a rajasic mindset would believe in karma kanda. It is mentioned because it is external. Now the Pitru Praksha just ended. You'll see a lot of work getting done for the ancestors. There will be a lot of rush in the local temples where there will be a lot of Pitru Praksha. But most of the time, beyond the Pitru Praksha timeline of fortnight before Mahalaya, they would end up aligning. They will do some austerity, they will do some donation, they will not cut their beard and so on and so forth. But after the time passes, they're all into passionate activities. So, as you can see, the higher principle is our understanding of Krishna consciousness in terms of what is dharma and what is adharma, and how we are aligning with dharma or adharma. Not trying to do a karma kanda activity in near a pond and offering it oblations to our seniors, and then after 2-3 days going back to our old way, exactly like an elephant will take a shower and immediately he will come out and smear himself with soil around. So that's not what Krishna consciousness is, as Srila Prabhupada is so beautifully explaining here, that Rajasic mindset is very external. So let's not lead our life with an external driven understanding of scriptures. Let's base it based on the mode of goodness. Whenever you have mode of goodness, that mode of goodness touches on the internal aspect. Everything has an internal angle and external angle. When we deal with our life with a very strong fundamental understanding, the sattvic understanding, where we align ourselves with the mode of goodness based on the scriptures, not with the external understanding of mode of scriptures, we always make the right decision and we can't go wrong. So with that, I'd like to end here by so what a powerful verse we have, 18.31, where Krishna is explaining the difference between religiosity and religiosity based on the understanding of the scriptures. So any question, comments, or any thoughts, any reflections you have based on this? Was it relevant, or was I clear, or there was a lot of disturbance?
It is clear.
Yes, Prabhuji. Was it clear, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, it is clear.
Yeah. So was the verse 18.31 where Krishna is explaining dharma and adharma in terms of rajasic mindset? We didn't really dwell a lot into it. We talked about two examples. The example of Suparnaka and Lakshman, the example of Vibhishan and Ravan. I hope that was okay. But if we want to dwell more, we definitely can. We have more examples as well. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Bala Prabhu, you have a question?
No, Prabhu, it is quite clear.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments? Trollak Prabhu, Prajapati Prabhu, Pradeep Prabhu, Sridhar Prabhu. My apologies for low bandwidth, but the higher principle is a thing which sattvic or people in mode of goodness adhere to, and rajasic people are more external in their ability to do karma kanda. They will do the puja, they will do the pitrupaksha, but they will go back, and so they don't have. So we should all elevate ourselves from a understanding of a lower principle. There are people who do not even have any understanding of the scriptures. That is tamasic. That is our next verse, 18.32. But we just want to see that this method of hearing something from Bhagavad Gita should elevate ourselves from the different modes. It's early morning in where I am now, and in the early morning there is a sense of goodness. But as the meetings progress on the day, and then there are a lot of challenges and there are a lot of arguments during the middle of the day, people tend to mode of goodness. So these modes fluctuate every day in our lives. And so, but as long as possible, we should try to control, steer very clear about what is right and wrong. And that's all about Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita teaches us what is right and wrong with the right consciousness, right understanding. And I hope we all are progressing to be a better soul in our quest for achieving success in our life. Any final thoughts? Any comments? How is everything? I hope everyone is doing well.
Yes, Prabhuji. Everything is okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, all good, Prabhuji. Bandwidth is not a problem. It was clear.
Thank you, Prabhu. So tomorrow we're going to next Friday, we are going to discuss 18.32. Very beautiful verse on the understanding in the mode of passion is done today. The mode of ignorance will be next week. So with that, I'd like to end today's discussion by offering prayers at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas. Thank you all for attending. It was a quick discussion, and we're going to discuss more next week. Let's all offer prayers at the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas by saying Vancha Kalpataruvascha Kripa Sindhuvaya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Vaishnavanda ki jai Bhagavad Gita ki jai
Jai.
Gaur
Jai. Hari Hari.